Because of low water levels on the Danube, we couldn't board 40 miles south of Bucharest. We went 200 miles west to board our ship.
And we are beneath the Carpathian Mountains, between the Carpathian Mountains and the Danube River, by the Prince Vlad the Impaler, who was the inspiration in the 19th century for the Irish writer Bram Stoker, who wrote the famous novel Dracula. A castle here in the city, well, in the village that was Bucharest at the time. And from that point on, from the 15th upwards to the 18th century, there was a huge development of the city. Right, we have the royal castle of Cotroceni, which today is the residence of the President of Romania.
The president is a physics professor.
You should know that in the 19th century, feudalism was still well and alive.
So these are fields of sunflowers. This is late in the season, and lack of water makes them look pretty sad. And here in front we have a whole bunch of wildflowers. The EU has rules for bus drivers, and after an hour and a half or 2 hours, they have to have a 15-minute break, and then a couple hours later they have to have a half-hour, 45-minute break.
To the First World War, for these poor people to finally get some land. As the war front and the front line got to the border between Wallachia and Moldova, and the politicians and also the king saw themselves in dire situation. So much. This is the point where the Romanian king came out and said to the people, if you fight, no matter if you live or die, you will get land. And as the peasants heard that, they started to fight like lions, you know, and they won. 27,000 Romanian soldiers and Russians, which were the allies then. And it was a horrific campaign, you know, where, as I said, many soldiers died. Unmanageable, because they could make money, feed their families, and and regard themselves as land owners, free people, free men.
Under Russian control.
They took out all the university teachers, high-ranking clergy members, all the community leaders, people that were well-established, wealthy, intelligent, were taken away, shot, tortured in public spaces so that they could, of course, use fear as a factor to intimidate the masses. There was no chance for Romania to fight and win against the Soviet Union, so it was, if you want, an outcry for help towards the Western world. And it was from the American Senate for many years after that. And with that money, he started a industrialization process of the whole country. And this is where these humongous concrete neighborhoods have been built in the cities all over the country, and new industrial platforms have been erected. Because if you need 100 people and you hire 1,500 and you pay them all, guess what? You're not going to be really efficient, right? But they made that possible due to the fact that, like in North Korea today, you cut your whole country away from world reality, world economy, world politics, everything, and also many resources. And this will allow you to have your own currency, independent from the world financial market, and you can have a closed circuit financial market, you know, which became afterwards the Romanian Revolution.
Frustrated by the
They killed Ceausescu because they were afraid of him getting support from outside countries like Libya, Iraq, Iran, and all the other nice and beautiful friends he had, like Yasser Arafat in Palestine and so on. And they killed him. 2 days, nobody knew about it, and the people didn't know anything about it. They shot Ceausescu the 24th of December. All through the country there were shootings that night, so that no one could celebrate Christmas. On the 25th there was no shootings, where they judged Ceausescu and they shot him and his wife, and we were petrified. I was 10 years old, and for the first time and only time in my life I felt like I had no ground underneath my feet. I did to enjoy life in communism because his ruling time, he called it himself the golden era. This is why people ironically called Romania the golden cage. You know, it was not golden at all, believe me, but this is how we called it, because me inclusively, because it was like that. Because the political parties, by controlling all the resources and all the money, control to some degree the numbers of votes they receive every 4 years. They don't want an administrative reform, so that, like in the rest of the European Union, we have development regions which are then able to organize themselves to a certain degree, and also use part of the money they create themselves in order to get their own highways, airports and such. The French came to Bucharest in the middle of the 90s and opened up a supermarket. A few years after that, the German company Lidl came. And Lidl belongs to the Kaufland group. And what Lidl did was starting to create its own network around Romania, and of course gathered information about shopping patterns, amounts of money people give out for food, what people like to buy, and things like that. And when they decided that the time was ripe to come to Romania, they came with all they had, the best knowledge, the best experience, and they work and function here, which is fantastic and normal.
Thanks to capitalism,
People
people have started small businesses and grown them, kind of a Home Depot and an Amazon. In Germany, the government owns a communications network, so there's no advantage to fixing it up. There's no advantage, there's no competition, and so it's lousy. Here, it's very inexpensive and real good service because of competition. We stopped in this large hotel, restaurant, market complex and had a typical Romanian lunch. Lots of commercial traffic, lots of villages, new freeway. Things are getting better.
Today you can find a plane ticket for 40 euros and fly from Bucharest to Barcelona, for example. Train locomotive factory, the small airplane factory, and the Ford factory, which has been opened here after, in the 70s and the 80s, communist car factory here, who produced a copy of the Citroen Visa car. 2.5% of the energy that's being produced is being produced by these windmills and solar panels. Under know that one of them, the big ones, can cost somewhere around between 2 or 3 million euros, and they can power up to 300 households. The problem with them is wind is either too strong or too weak, or it's not, you don't have wind at all.
After a very interesting bus ride with a very informed speaker, we arrived at our destination, Vieden. This is a pretty brand new ship, and we had a suite. So we have a bedroom and a living room, and here's a view from the top deck.